game is lame and absurd, but just a bit. You need to sit back and observe a certified pimp. So oh yes he is. I mean that boy does the shit. He's a mess he is. Fresh to death. Ain't nobody fresh as he is. They can't compare or get next to him because he's so fly. I mean the boy's so clean. From his white tee on down to those jeans. You see the ice in the pinky.
What is good, everybody? I'm your man's Ken Jackson, and yes, this is an unscheduled broadcast because I just felt like coming on and talking tonight. So anyway, a lot of things going on, a whole lot of things going on actually. Donald Trump has been set free from all federal charges. And they basically had to drop the charges because he was just going to have DOJ dismiss everything anyway after he was sworn in. So a special prosecutor today requested that the courts just end the case altogether. So Donald Trump has gotten away with 34 felonies. Wow. No, I'm sorry. I take that back. He's been already convicted of those. He's not going to serve any time on those, but all federal charges have gone away. That's the documents case. That's also the election fraud case that was against him. Now, Georgia hasn't dropped their cases yet because he has no control over state cases. But because of the recent Supreme Court ruling basically saying that presidents are immune from criminal prosecution, looks like Georgia's going to have to end up dropping theirs as well. Or they can postpone it until 2029 once he's out of office, if he's out of office, and then they could sentence him then because he's already been convicted on some crimes. So and that's in the New York cases too, I believe. But anyway, basically he's gotten off scot-free. And really ain't shit we can do about it. Now, my question has always been, how is it that a sitting president, can't be prosecuted? That effectively makes them above the law, correct? So now they have all of these excuses. Well, they say, oh, he can't be criminally prosecuted unless he's first impeached, and then convicted by the Senate. But that makes no sense. That makes no sense at all. Because when a president is in a position like what Trump's in right now, where the Senate is Republican controlled, the House of Representatives is Republican controlled, there's absolutely no chance that they're going to impeach him in the House and convict him in the Senate. And it's crazy to think, too, that he was convicted before. He's been impeached twice. And twice, the Republican-controlled Senate decided not to do anything about it. So what's that tell you? It tells me that we need some serious changes in how our government works. The partisanship needs to be outlawed altogether. There needs to be some way of establishing clear rules as to what the Senate and the House can do, because they're the lawmakers. They're the ones who are making these laws that we're all supposed to follow but yet a president isn't bound by those laws? Does that even make sense? It doesn't. It makes no sense at all. And I never could understand also how DOJ, would have a memo saying, oh, well, we won't prosecute a sitting president. And their reasoning is that it causes an undue distraction, from a president, performing his duties, blase, blase, blase. But my thing is this: if you commit the fucking crimes, isn't that impeding your presidential duties when you're taking the time out to commit crimes, felonies, misdemeanors, whatever? I think the rules should be that when a president does commit crimes, it's mandatory that the House holds impeachment hearings, and make it mandatory that the Senate actually holds a Senate trial if the House impeaches a president, instead of just blowing it off and saying, hey, you know what, we're not even going to hold a trial just because he's our guy. He represents our party. That in itself should be illegal. But we know that's never going to happen because the ones that make the laws are the ones responsible for carrying out impeachments, so forth and so on. So as long as they're in control, they're definitely not going to change it. And the other party's not going to change anything either, just in case one of their presidents are facing the same situation. So it's really sad to me, how this whole process is set up. Basically, we have a king now. Let's not even call him a president. Let's call it what it is. He's a king. He's above the law. He can do whatever the hell he wants to do, and there's nothing we the people can do about it, because we the people obviously really have no power whatsoever in the government that we elect to represent us. And for anybody that just sits back and lets it happen, in my opinion, you're just as criminally liable as those actually committing the crimes. You're accomplices. So all you MAGA freaks and all you Republicans that voted for Donald Trump, in my opinion, you're accomplices to all his crimes. You co-signed it. You made it okay. And you made it okay for future presidents to say, you know what? I can do this, and ain't nothing y'all can do about it because I'm the president. And when they leave office, and like this particular instance too, I gotta blame Merrick Garland. He had 4 years. DOJ had 4 years to bring these charges and to prosecute this dude while he was a regular citizen. But they sat on their hands. They kicked the can down the road, and now here we are with a criminal, a convicted criminal, about to take the White House. How does that happen in a country that's supposed to be ruled by law and not partisan bullshit politics? It's sad. And look at the people he's putting around him this time. I told y'all all year long leading up to this election that Trump wasn't going to make the same mistakes that he made in his first administration by, putting people in place who actually gave a shit about the Constitution and gave a shit about laws. He's putting in 100% sycophants now, 100% followers of whatever bullshit he decides to put out there. So listen, these next 4 years, we are in trouble. I heard a Democratic congressman today saying, well, look, we got a chance in 2 years, to change this. No, we don't. We really don't. We may not have midterm elections. Trump himself said to his Christian right nationalists that if they put him back in office, they won't have to worry about voting again. He said they have it already fixed up. They'll never have to vote again. Believe what the fuck he told y'all. This man is not planning on leaving office in 4 years. He's not planning on leaving office unless he dies in office. So we got a real problem on our hands right now because America as we know it no longer exists. And you people should really, really be concerned. For all you people that voted for Trump, thinking he was going to lower grocery prices and lower gas prices. Wow. He just announced today 25% tariffs on everything coming from Mexico. Mexico is one of our 3 biggest trading partners. And guess who pays the tariffs? Not Mexico, not China, not Canada. You do. I do. We all do. The consumers, we're the ones that pay the price because those tariffs are basically a tax on all things imported into the United States. The countries that are sending the products don't pay that tax. The companies that bring in those products are the ones that are going to pay that tax. And guess what they're going to do when they resell it to us? They're going to jack the prices up. So you think prices are high now? Give it a few months. Wait until we're into this a year or two. And you're going to wish to God you didn't put this guy back in office. We had an opportunity. We really had an opportunity, but that opportunity has passed. And I don't think we're going to get another opportunity. Not in my lifetime. I really don't believe so. Now, a good thing happened today. Biden did negotiate a permanent ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon. Still working on Gaza. Hopefully they get a deal done in the shooting stops in Gaza because I feel so bad for the Palestinian people because they are being massacred. And don't think anything's going to change once Trump is sworn in because Benjamin Netanyahu is Donald Trump's buddy. They think alike. They believe in the same thing. And Donald Trump's not going to do anything to stop Netanyahu from basically ethnic cleansing Palestine. I heard, and people always say, especially Jews, and nothing against Jewish people for their religious beliefs, but I'm talking about the Zionists that are in control of your country there in Israel, the ones who are trying to exterminate the Palestinian people. Always hear them say that there was never a state of Palestine. Palestine never existed. Your own Jewish charter says that this state of Israel was established in the land of Palestine. It was Palestinian lands. Just because they didn't have a government that you recognized as a civil government does not mean that the land did not exist. Listen, these people have been living in this land for centuries. For centuries. The only proof that we have of anything of Israel ever being established or existing is in the Bible and in the Torah, in religious books. I'm not saying that there was never an Israel. But for you to say that there was never a Palestine is bullshit. Because it was Palestine long before it was Israel. Long before. That's why your charter says that your nation of Israel established here in the land of Palestine. Great Britain made it possible for y'all to go in and take the land from the people that were living there already, because it was the British that conquered the area during their colonial days. The colonizers, the European conquerors. So it wasn't even their land to give away. My question's always been, why didn't they give Germany to the Jews? It was Germany that persecuted the Jews in World War II. So why didn't they give them Germany at the end of World War II? You know why? Because they didn't want them in Europe. Think about that. All of the Western allies voted to take this land away from the Palestinian people and say, hey, we're going to give you that land down there, and y'all can make your country there. But wait a minute. We live here. You know what I'm saying? The Palestinians are like, what the fuck you mean you're going to give them this land? This is our land. We're here. We're trying to get rid of the British, but the British turned around and said, hey, no, we're going to give that to the Jewish people so they can establish their country. I personally feel like that was wrong. It was definitely wrong, because Palestinian people had no say whatsoever. Probably if y'all would have asked them nicely and said, hey, Palestinians, we're trying to let the Jewish people have a homeland too. Is it possible we can come in and establish an area here where they can call home as well? How about that? Let's negotiate that. But nah, it was just taken away from them. And you wonder why Palestinian people have been so angry for the last few centuries. You wonder, you look at what's going on in Gaza, in the West Bank right now. Look at how the Israeli government has had their foot on the necks of the Palestinians for all of my lifetime, ever since 1948 when they established the nation of Israel. Palestinian people have been suffering. You would be mad too if somebody came into your home and told you, you got to move because we're going to let these people have your property. Think about that. Think about that. Reason you don't think about it is because it's never happened to you and you feel like it can't happen here. But let me tell you something. We are about to go through some serious bullshit the next 4 years. And if we don't get Donald Trump and his MAGA freaks out of the government, and I mean out completely, we may never, ever, ever see America again. And that's something to seriously think about. Think about your children and your grandchildren and what they might be facing in the future. Are we headed for a civil war? It's damn well possible. That's another thing. A lot of people out there think that a civil war can't happen here in the United States again. It happened the first time. It can damn well sure happen again. And what's sad is that we're literally one event away from a civil war in this country. And granted, it's not something I'm advocating for, because I damn sure don't want to see any type of warfare going on American streets. But man, y'all got to stop listening to this bullshit that Donald Trump and his people have been putting out. Now Project 2025 is in full effect. And I feel sorry for you dumbasses, and that's what I'm going to call you, dumbasses that didn't read it. For you dumbasses that sat there at home and said, oh, that's just Democratic propaganda. No, Project 2025 is real. These motherfuckers put it in writing. You can go online and you can download copies and you can read this shit. They signed their names to it. And now you've given them control of this government. You've given them total control of this country. And we may have to fight to get it back. It's something about Americans for some reason is that, we always fuck around and find out when it's too late. Instead of reading the writing on the wall, instead of paying attention to what's right in front of us, Americans, in general fall for the bullshit, the conspiracy theories, and then when it's too late, we find out that now we got this massive struggle to get things back in order. And don't get me wrong, I'm not advocating that the American government is all peaches and cream, and angels and righteous, because the United States government has done a lot of wrong around the world. We have manipulated markets. We have manipulated different countries and nations, all in the name of capitalism. Think about that. And now the chickens have come home to roost. And karma is a bitch. And we're experiencing our American karma right now. That's what we're going through now. And it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. Vladimir Putin is about to take Ukraine. I'm not for any war in Ukraine involving American troops, by no means. I'm a veteran. I don't want to see any wars. I've seen the effects of warfare. It ain't fun. It ain't nothing nice. I never could understand warfare between nations. I never could understand that. So many people killed and maimed and so much suffering caused by political leaders who feel like their agenda needs to be forced on everybody else. I hate that. But what can I do? I'm just one person, so all I can do is let my voice be heard. That's all I can do right now. If I have to fight, I'll fight. I'll die protecting what I believe to be a righteous position. And that doesn't mean forcing my beliefs on anybody else. It's about fighting to be free, to be able to live my life the way that I choose without imposing my ways on anybody else. See, that's what true freedom is. If you want to be free, fine. But don't sit around and try to force your ways on someone else. That's when it becomes fascism. That's when it becomes imperialism. And there ain't nothing good about any of the isms. It's these isms that got us all fucked up anyway. Think about that shit. Now, do I hope Donald Trump turns out to be something good for us? I hope so. but I'm not optimistic about it because I pay attention to what this man has been saying for the last 8 years. You know what I'm saying? I listen to what comes out of his mouth. I watch what him and his people have been doing. They're trying to erase Black American history. This motherfucker actually last week said that whites ought to be getting reparations.
Of Justice to pursue federal civil rights cases against schools that continue to engage in racial discrimination and schools that persist in explicit unlawful discrimination under the guise of equity will not only have their endowments taxed, but through budget reconciliation, I will advance a measure to have them fined up to the entire amount of their endowment. A portion of the seized funds will then be used as restitution for victims of these illegal and unjust policies that hurt our country so badly. Colleges have gotten hundreds of billions of dollars from hardworking taxpayers, and now we are going to get this anti-American insanity out of our institutions once and for all. We are going to have real education in America. Thank you.
I said, are you fucking kidding me? Really? When have white people ever been oppressed in this country? And I'm not talking about, poor white folks, and the poor immigrants, that came through Ellis Island and all of that, because even them had a leg up on my ancestors. My ancestors weren't even considered people. My ancestors weren't even considered human beings until recent years. I was born in the 60s when the civil rights movement was just kicking off. I remember at a young age the riots and the blackouts and seeing the marches on TV, people fighting, so that we could have equal rights in this country. What's sad is these youngsters now have no idea about any of that, and y'all are going through life blind, as if none of that mattered. Nothing affects you. And it was a lot of young people that voted for Donald Trump and his MAGA Republicans because they were unhappy with Joe Biden. He didn't do enough to stop the war in Gaza. It's about to get a lot worse. All of y'all complaining about high prices. We got these high prices and inflation because of what Donald Trump did in his first term, which was impose these high-ass tariffs on imports. See, what y'all don't understand is these presidents enact policies, but you don't feel those policies until the next 4 years. And as much as you might dislike Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, he did get a lot accomplished. Infrastructure bill was passed, something Donald Trump said he was going to do. And when he had control of the government the first time, he couldn't get it done. You know why? Because he wasn't trying to get it done. A lot of Muslims voted for Donald Trump this time. Did y'all forget when he was in office the first time, he imposed a Muslim ban? A lot of Hispanics voted for Donald Trump this time. Have y'all been paying any attention to what this man has been saying? He's about to deport all of your asses if he can. He's probably going to try to deport us too, as if we're some kind of illegal immigrants. And what's really sad about that is the fact that my ancestors didn't ask to be in this motherfucker. We were forced to come here. We were forced to come here and work as free labor, busted our asses to build this country, only to be shit on when the country started making all the profits. And not really profits, because America's built on credit. That's another problem with the United States. And our credit's running out because a lot of the rest of the world is fed up. And now they're looking at us real crazy, trying to figure out how in the hell did we allow this to happen? How in the hell did we allow Donald Trump back in office? A criminal, a convicted criminal, a known con man, a sexual predator. This man said at one time that if Ivanka wasn't his daughter, he'd be dating her someday. This is the motherfucker you put in office. No moral compass whatsoever. None. He doesn't care about you. I laugh so hard when I hear blue-collar workers saying, I love Donald Trump because he's just like us. He ain't never been just like you. Ever. Donald Trump never one day in his life has ever known what it's like to wonder where his next meal was coming from, to wonder if the mortgage was going to be paid or if the rent was going to be paid. Donald Trump never once in his life had to beg, borrow, and steal. Well, he's stolen a lot. But he never had to worry about whether or not he was going to be able to buy clothes for his family, feed his family. Hell, buy Christmas gifts for those of you that celebrate Christmas. Never once in his life has ever been inside a grocery store other than when he's out campaigning. Has no idea that an ID is not required to buy groceries. This motherfucker thought you had to show an ID to buy bread. Did y'all forget that when he said that? This dude once said that we should probably inject bleach or cleansers into our bloodstream to fight the COVID virus. Did y'all forget that? I really, really, really don't understand how we let this man back in office. But what's done is done. Now we have to deal with it. Hopefully, it won't turn out so bad. But again, like I said, I'm not very optimistic. So I'm preparing myself, and you should too. Prepare for the worst. Always expect the best. Hope for the best, but be prepared for the worst. Be smart. Don't let yourself get caught out there.